lot of people try to protect equity and like don't want to give up a piece of the pie. It's like those equal effort, equal equity, like they always fail or they have to be adjusted because it's literally impossible for two people to provide equal value. Okay, today on the Bigger Life podcast, we had Trent. Ken was my childhood home teacher, priesthood hero. We got to spend a lot of time with his family over the years. And today he shared how he is the risk-averse entrepreneur. And I really loved some of the big takeaways. And we talked a lot about making sure you're lean, not biting off more than you can chew, but making sure you find value and find demand in your business. And we also talked about putting family first and how those things are most important and being abundant, giving people a piece of the pie so that you can grow something great. So I think you're really going to enjoy today's episode with Ken. When it comes to moving, you don't need stress. You need Big Ben's Moving and Storage. Our world-class team handles your move with care, precision, and professionalism, whether it's local or long distance. From white glove full-service moves to perfectly tailored solutions for your family or business, we treat every customer like VIP. So sit back, relax, and let Big Ben's move you forward. Call now or visit bigbensmovingservice.com. Thank you so much for being here. This is an exciting day. We have Trent today on the Bigger Life podcast. I'm pretty sure, were you my primary teacher a couple of times probably?
I don't know. I was your home teacher way back in the day.
Okay.
In your first house on
Centennial?
Yeah.
I remember that. Who was not that it's really relevant, but I remember you, and I can remember your companion's face coming over diligently back before the ministering days. But so we go way back. I was in the same class as Ken's daughter, Tori. And so we've been friends for life. And a really recent memory was our trip to Jerusalem and Egypt.
Yes.
One of my bucket list trips. I don't know how you guys enjoyed it, but
every Christian should go there sometime in their lives. It was just incredible.
Yeah.
Just incredible.
Yeah, it was really special. We had a kind of a stacked group go with us, and I know
who's who.
Well, I mean, just all my priesthood heroes growing up. Everyone that had ever taught me, about Christ was like actually got to be there for the trip. So that was pretty special for me. And you guys did the extended trip to Egypt, so we got to do the pyramids together and stuff. And so that was really impactful. And I feel like I have to ask, because we actually postponed this podcast. I feel like we're here to talk about your entrepreneurial journey and stuff like that, but I feel like we should touch on it just for a minute, because we actually had to postpone for the Charlie Kirk assassination. I mean, I know that your daughter-in-law was there for that.
Yes.
Could you speak about like how that's been for your family?
So yeah, she was 10 or 15 feet away when it happened. So she was right there. And it's been difficult for her. She said that how it made her feel, there's no word to describe it. I tried to suggest a few: terror, panic. Nope. She says it doesn't come close. When you think you're afraid for your life, because, immediately after that, they're told to duck down, and they didn't know if they're going to have bullets rain down on them. And there's a couple of friends covering her up, and she's just in that crouched position waiting for whatever to happen next. And but she's she's working through it. She's got some counseling, but it's horrible.
She's a tough girl. Where was Tyler, your son?
He is in audition rotations for his medical training or career.
Right. Was he up there in Utah County or down here?
No, he was in Phoenix.
In Phoenix.
Yeah.
Oh
Otherwise, he would have gone with her.
Right. I mean, I'm imagining how it must have been for everybody, because Tyler and I worked together for years before he did medical school. So I'm trying to think of it from everybody's perspective,
Sure. Yeah. It was rough on him to not be there to help console her, but Celeste Malloy, Rayleigh works for Celeste Malloy, and she really backed her up. She's like, she sent somebody all the way up from St. George to get Rayleigh so they could bring her back, and just really arranged counseling, and she's just really been taking good care of her.
Yeah, I know Rayleigh has been passionate about politics as long as I've known her. Like most girls don't post as much or speak up as much about politics. So I think that's a really cool thing. And I know that, you know, being there, like I've thought about it, you know, probably almost every day since it happened. It's like a big thing that's weighing on everyone's mind right now. But for her, like I sent her a message just sending love, and just because that was really crazy. And I know that we were both like, should we do the podcast today? I'm like, let's just not.
Yeah.
And anyways, but you guys are an awesome patriotic family. I mean, tell us a little bit more about your backstory. I know you spent some time in Tennessee. How did you meet Lene and come out here?
Yeah, I grew up in Tennessee. My dad was an entrepreneur. Set a good example for me there. My mom's from California. And I went to BYU and met Lene there.
Okay.
And, she was from Idaho, and when we got engaged, her mom said, well, I guess it's okay as long as you promise to never, 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 never move back to Tennessee.
What was her beef with Tennessee?
Far away. It's just
Okay.
far away. So yeah, and we have, as you know, 3 beautiful children that with beautiful grandchildren, and it's I just love this stage of my life.
Yeah, we were talking about Tori and Tegan off air and how they're so amazing and always coming in clutch. And Tegan was actually the one who you know, we were talking and she gave me the idea to have you on. I was like, that's a great idea. But so you met Lene at BYU. First, can I ask what your dad did? Like, what was his entrepreneur journey like?
So he was a teacher, and then a draftsman, and then he learned to become a land surveyor, and then he started his own land surveying business. And then as technology came on in the early 80s, he started writing software for himself, and then started sharing that with other surveyors, and ended up creating a business out of that. And yeah, he just set a really good example for me in that way. My temperament at that time was go to college, go to work, you know. And he hired me out of college, actually in college, to work for him, writing software. And actually, while I was still in high school, you know, on the entrepreneurial topic, we went together to the mall, and he was picking up some parts to make a cable because it was, you know, he needed one, and he didn't have enough in stock so he just made it from scratch instead of buying one. And I'm like, well, how much did that cost? The parts cost, oh, about $5. What do you sell them for? Oh, about $45. And I'm like,
No kidding.
Yeah. And so I started making cables, and he started selling them. And it was a little bit of side money, and it was enough that when it got me through parts of college, and when I went on my mission, I handed it down to the next brother, and so on. And so it was just a little bit of side money there. And so it just kind of fell in our lap, you know, and the just low effort, right? Distribution's already there, and so yeah, that was it.
Okay, so you hit on your temperament. Tell us a little bit more about your temperament. And I mean, you're talking about how your temperament led to you just like your plan was just to go to college, right? Do you feel like that was more your temperament? Was it generational, societal? Like, what led into that?
Yeah, both. I mean, it's absolutely generational. You know, when I was growing up, that was the plan, right? For every American to go to college and get a job. And it made more sense back then because people didn't, well, you know, the government at that time well, I guess it was previous to that. But at one point, the government didn't lend you money for college. It was banks.
Mm.
And the bank isn't going to lend you money for a major that doesn't pay off.
Interesting.
So then the government got involved and inflated the cost of college, because when you increase the demand, it increases the price, and also gets kids in trouble because they're allowed to study underwater basket weaving and are surprised when they get out of college and they can't pay off that loan.
That's a great point. I was going to say your technical skill set is one that you really can justify some college for.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of Charlie Kirk, he's down on college in general.
Yeah.
But, it's, in a lot of ways, some college degrees are a trade.
Yes.
Going to study computer science or engineering, that's a trade that you're learning. And that's how the middle class looks at college, as a way to figure out how to earn a living.
Mm-hmm.
The lower class doesn't go, and the upper class, I learned through Switchpoint or Circle's work, they don't go to learn a career. They go to get networking.
Yeah.
To get networks, which was a revelation to me, which is why they go to Harvard and these other places, because it always seemed like a coincidence. Well, how come all these leaders of our country knew each other in school,
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, that they go for the networking, but when you break it up by class like that, it really makes sense.
Yeah.
That they're going for who they can know later.
Yes.
It's a big revelation. Like, it really isn't about how smart, it's about how hard, or it's about not about how hard or how much, what your grades are in college.
Yeah.
All of you go to college for 4 years, 12 years, get straight A's, and still someone can go and make one connection and come out on top.
Absolutely.
Doesn't seem fair, but it's just reality.
Yeah. And, the fairness, years ago I thought, it is not fair that this guy is in a ditch working his butt off and getting paid nothing.
Yeah.
Another guy, twiddles a few bits.
Golfing.
Yeah, he's networking at the golf and whatever. Oh yeah, let's do that. And so yeah, it's capitalism isn't fair. But if you figure it out, then you're going to be in pretty good shape.
Yeah. And that sounds like a cool revelation we could spend time on. But your career path, so you got similar training in college, I'm guessing, as your dad, right? Like, so you could go work for him out of college.
Computer programming or engineering. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, fill us in. You had mentioned to me something about a good title for the podcast would be the conservative entrepreneur.
Or the risk averse.
Risk adverse.
Yes.
Okay. So how did that play out to some of your earlier decisions?
Yeah. So I think where some of this came from is like way back in high school or college, I was getting a little bit of cable money and had a little bit of cash, and I found a friend that's like, oh, let's make a business. And so I pay all this money to buy a computer, and it goes nowhere. I mean, turns out he's frankly an idiot.
Okay.
and nothing happened at all, Yeah. And so that kind of made me hesitant in the future to front load the investment in a business, right? And so the cable business, there's no upfront, there's no, just making it, and that's how I've structured later enterprises that I've tried to become involved in. For instance, 5 or 10 years ago, I had an idea for an invention, and so instead of, looking for investment capital or, sending out shares, which, it's a common thing to do, is you raise money, and then you see these multi-million-dollar caches of money, and they just blow through it like crazy, and too much money chasing too little results. You know? And so I was determined to bootstrap it. So what I would do is I would negotiate percentage of ownerships with people that I needed to be involved in the business. An electrical engineer, a business manager, somebody that work on the patents, and And it's surprising, if you've got a good story to tell, how much people are willing to commit to their time and efforts to working towards the business, as long as you give them a little piece of it.
So this is this your first business venture? You said 5-10 years ago? Or like since
The cables,
since the cables.
Yeah, it's hard to call that a business.
But it's a business, but this is like your most.
Yeah.
I want to go out of order, but this is, and so you had the intuition to say, okay, how am I gonna get this off the ground?
Right.
So I think that's a big takeaway. If you want to get lift to a business, a lot of people try to protect equity and like don't want to give up a piece of the pie, but if you want to do it and survive and not have to inject capital or take on, partners, right? That could have a noose around your neck. Like that's a great way, is finding other people that have the skills that you need and just making a team.
Yeah. And I kept majority, ownership, so that, it can get complicated if you are in competing for the ownership of the company with other people, but keeping that ownership small, and in them understanding that that's the case, that you're going to be in charge, and that because you own more than 50% of the company, it keeps it very simple, as opposed to giving people large, well, let's split it by a third, each way. Then there's friction because there's nobody really in charge. And also, you haven't proven their value to the company yet, which we'll talk about in the next business that I did.
Yeah, I mean, so you're saying just a helpful tactic is making sure that you maintain control. I agree with you. I think it's admirable when young friends kind of say, hey, let's start a business together, 50-50, and we'll both just go for it. Yeah. But I think the problem with that, and maybe this is what you're getting at, is there isn't a true value or enough.
It's unknown.
Yeah.
It's unproved at that point.
It's unproved, and there's not very distinct and specific roles assigned to each person. Right. Where what you're describing is, okay, everyone has a very, very specific role, function, responsibility. They're only going to do this, and it's worth this. Yeah. And I am the managing partner that's going to keep majority, so I can keep my thumb on the whole thing, right? So I think that's a good thing to point out, because I think a lot of people, their business goes sideways because they're like, we'll both give effort and we'll both do it, and we can split it 2 ways or 4 ways. Yeah. And it's like, I've seen a couple now. I've been doing this long enough that I talked to enough people that have tried that. It's like those equal effort, equal equity, like they always fail, or they have to be adjusted, because it's literally impossible for 2 people to provide equal value.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So very good takeaway. You gave us a teaser, but now lead us into the next one.
Yeah, and this is the one that you heard about, that got your interest in talking to me. Yeah. So 3 or 4 years ago, it's the same kind of thing as the cable deal, right? I'm working for a different company now, and they had a need. They had equipment that needed SIM cards and data plans, and they were just telling their customers to go to AT&T and get it, and then use it in their equipment. And it was causing all kinds of problems, because the 18-year-olds at AT&T had no idea what a GPS equipment was, with it, put the SIM card in, and what kind of plan they needed, and how to do it. And they were spending 2 hours there at the store and not getting it done. And then they need support, and AT&T points their finger, back and forth. And so it was a problem in our company, and me and a coworker studied the issue and found a solution that, hey, we could third-party SIM cards and data plans and provide everything to our customers. And my employer wanted nothing to do with that. Really? Nothing to do with it. They're like, oh, we don't know how to bill people monthly. There's going to be all kinds of support.
This is 5 years ago?
Yeah, about 3 or 4 years ago.
Oh my gosh!
And I did my due diligence. I tried to explain. No, I think this is a great opportunity. I think you should do it. And they're like, we don't know it. Nothing to do with it. And I'm like, well, if you don't want to do it, maybe my brothers could do it, and me.
Wow.
And so finally, I did get approval from the owner of the company to do this, and it's been an amazing arrangement for both companies. Their customers are amazingly happy about data because there's no finger pointing. We don't say, oh, you need to call the other company, or we deal with the issues on the spot where
That's your value.
yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, they're just our company doesn't have to worry about it. It's like so easy. They love the service. They love their customers are doing it. And we love the distribution because they send out our SIM cards with every one of their pieces of equipment. It's up to the customer whether they use it or not, but it's it's definitely, they've already got it in their hands. Why go anywhere else?
Yeah.
So that's been working out really well. But to rewind to your question, our discussion about ownership.
Mm-hmm.
Early days, I don't know how well this is going to go, and I've got a full-time job that I can't leave. Jared, my brother, his expertise is technical support.
Oh.
And that's a big part of this, right? And so and I have another brother that is amazing on web apps and marketing and brochures and just the kind of self-taught
marketing skill set, sounds like.
Well, yeah, I mean, and also programming. He can
Tech.
write. Yeah, he can write software and so he built our website and the order fulfillment, and put quite a bit of time into it. But his goal was to make it drop dead easy for our customers to acquire the SIM card, pay the monthly fee, and go on. And he did a really good job of that. I'm going to get off track if I'm not careful. So I'm going back to the ownership. So we knew the three of us had the skills to do this business. And I just kind of threw out a small percentage to my brother, like, you just, and we're at a point where he's going to take 1 or 2 calls a week,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
But we need him on call.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, I'll pay you, $20 a call that you take or whatever. And eventually we figured out a percentage of the company.
Mm-hmm.
But once the company was making money, I also paid him a salary.
Yeah.
First it was hourly and then a salary, because that percentage represents his investment in the early days before we could afford to pay him.
Mm-hmm.
Once he's earned that percentage, he could quit today, and I'm still paying him that percentage because it was because of him I was able to start the business.
I see.
But so on an ongoing basis, I'm paying him. Similar thing with my other brother Benson. We're like, yeah, we need your help, and we'll give you a part of the company. We didn't name that number. Now, these are brothers. This is a different situation. These are brothers that are comfortable with each other and trust each other very much. So he was willing to put in all this work for my company to help it get going without any pay.
Anything in writing?
No.
Yeah.
No. So it's an unusual situation. But so he basically got it ready. It was done, and we kind of knew what he had accomplished for the business, and we knew what his going rate was, the amount of effort, and we estimate the value of the business at that time, which is incredibly esoteric. It's totally subjective. If we grow at this rate over the next few, it's ridiculous.
Very subjective.
Very subjective.
Yeah.
But I was able to propose a value that I thought the company was worth now, and then compare that to the amount of his contribution. That percentage was his.
Mm-hmm.
So and so then that now was his percentage. And at that point, we flipped him over to his normal hourly rate. We didn't need him full time, so I just wanted him on retainer, so I give him a retainer, and then whatever hours he works above that every month.
So there was an equity piece that they basically got for getting this off the ground, and then they could walk away at any point, but they also got a supplemental salary on top to kind of keep them engaged as the company grows. And that, I'm sure that's adjusted over time, right?
Yeah, that salary grows as the company grows and as their responsibilities grow. Yeah.
So, I mean, this is a hot topic. We've actually talked a couple times on this podcast, but do you recommend working with family? And if so, what are your do's and don'ts?
Yeah, it absolutely depends on family. So
Okay.
who your family is.
Yeah.
I have a relative that has had some dealings with family, and it has been horrendous for him, right?
Yeah.
And and I have not had any bad dealings with my family.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you have to examine, and it's hard to do this ahead of money getting on the line, but you have to examine people's attitudes about money. My brothers don't care a thing about money.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
is it because they're already comfortable, or they're just not worldly?
It's just not worldly.
Really?
I mean, like, whatever I need to get by, and I want to talk to you later because I'm the most ambitious of the three of us, and I'm not that ambitious.
Interesting. What do you mean? Like,
well, okay. So I was actually going to talk to you about this off mic, but we have other ideas. So our arrangement with Carl, my employer, is that we're exclusive to them and they're exclusive to us, right? So we see a lot of opportunities in the space, but outside of their market that we could pursue. SIM cards in devices is called IoT, Internet of Things.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's online now, and sometimes it's away from Wi-Fi and it needs a SIM card. And it's a huge market, and we could either offer a similar thing we do to my employer, like, hey, it's a white glove, take care of your customers, you send it out with your equipment, and we take care of it, or just buying it off the shelf and using it. But the three of us, none of us are salesmen. We've got a good marketer. We don't have a salesman, and that kind of thing takes a good salesman. So I've floated it to a few different people, but it haven't had any takers. But there's big opportunity out there, and I think maybe you or you know somebody
That's
that has
great
ambition and sales expertise.
Well, that sounds like got the bug, and I mean the biggest thing is, the point is, so many people try to invent businesses that really aren't there. Like, they have an idea, but there's really no demand for it.
Right.
This is something that's not, it's not like reinventing anything. It's just a need is there, customer pain point, enter business. It's just like, it's just the demand was seen, the demand was tapped into. It's just very similar to like my moving company. I was getting calls for storage. It's like, I didn't do anything crazy. I just said, oh, I have a good lead gen for storage. I'll just build storage. Same with you. Like, and that's an exciting, you're seeing the next opportunity is, I don't know, how much % of the market share is your employer?
Well, my employer's entire market is a tiny percentage of the IoT market. So we can't compete with them in the surveying,
their space.
In their space, in the surveying space. And the surveying space is a tiny part of the of the IoT market.
Okay, I see where you're headed. So this market is not even what you have your eye on. You have the full IoT market.
Yeah.
I like it. Well, I mean, this is an exciting stuff, and I'm trying to remember a couple of my other questions as you were telling your story. But I mean, the way that you teamed up with your brothers and got it off the ground is very, very cool. Where has it gone from there? Like from when you hatched the plan and you said, okay, you guys get this piece, and then now we're gonna scale. Like, was there some early bumps in the road, or did it just kind of catch?
as far as our relationship with my employers, been smooth sailing and just automatic. I mean, we don't have to spend anything on marketing. We don't, it's kind of like the golden handcuffs, right? You can't go outside of our company, but we're trying to teach you really well inside of this company. So we've tried a few things to get outside of that market that doesn't compete with my employer, and not been successful because we don't A, have a salesman, and B, we're just not hard chargers. I mean, let me just say it. We're making decent money, right? And we're comfortable, and there's more to be made, but we're just not, And so you dabble, right? If you have that kind of situation, you dabble, and dabblers don't, succeed very much.
Well, what I'm hearing is like oftentimes you need someone that is in a position where they need to hunt to eat, kind of thing.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I've talked to 2 people and said, I will give you an immense portion of the sales that you produce. Half the sales.
Yeah.
The year is the first year, and it's ongoing, right? We would reduce you down, after that first year. But it's kind of like selling insurance. Those residuals. The subscription business, those residuals keep rolling in, and you can quit and just enjoy the residuals.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, it sounds like a market that could really be tapped into. Just curious. You said your employer wanted nothing to do with it. Did they ever joke with you and say, "Oh, what were we thinking?" Or
I had one coworker said, I wish I'd gotten in on that with you, but yeah. Surprisingly, I haven't gotten the feeling that they're that. I made the mistake of picking up the phone a few times on the support calls because it would roll over from my brother, and they're like, hey, you can't do both, which is obviously
really?
correct.
Yeah.
Technically, I'm talking to my employer's customers, but that's not my job, So, and I did very, very little of that. It was just kind of
I'm guessing it's a system where it only rolls if it's missing 2 other people, right? Yeah. Man, well, so do you, like, looking back, you said risk averse, and like it sounds like you did this as meticulously and safely as possible. Like, what are ways that other people could look for patterns to do similar things to what you've done?
Well, I think one of the first things is having that as a goal. Like several years ago, I wrote down 5 and 10-year goals to start a business, and so it was in my mind. Just having that in my mind is like, oh, I should be on the lookout for opportunities, and it falls in my lap, and I'm oh yeah, I have a goal of starting a business, and so let's not let this pass by. So I'm not sure if I'm answering your question.
Oh yeah, keep going.
So what was your question? Sorry.
Question is, like, how can risk averse people get a business off the ground?
Oh yeah.
Because for the most part, like, other people in your situation working a full-time job, a lot of times, like, it's a huge sacrifice or a huge risk to get a business off the ground, right? Like you said, like, you kind of have to make the plunge sometimes, but it sounds like you're able to maintain what you needed to and do something that has now taken lift without having to risk as much. Or was there some risks that we don't know about?
I put $2,000 in, and it didn't even need that,
Yeah. There you go.
So, I think, you hear a lot of podcasts and people talking about side hustles, and I think side hustles are a great way to dip your toe in and to see if something's got legs on it. But I think a lot of people in their side hustles don't pick things that can scale. Or don't have a mindset to scale. Like they're basically just finding a new job
Mm.
because there's a one-to-one relationship between how much work, they're getting paid by the hour or by the job or whatever, whatever they make, and they're the ones making it. I think that, like my wife, for instance, she enjoys crafts and she likes to sell them on Etsy or whatever. She enjoys cooking and like selling them at the fruit stand,
Yeah.
But it's a one-to-one ratio between her effort and the return, without, scaling up like, oh, I'm going to hire people, I'm going to, get it done, etc. So I think people get trapped in that side hustle mindset of it's not going to go places.
Yeah.
But as far as the low risk thing, looking back on the business I told you about that before the SIM card one, where I had an invention idea, I bit off way more than I could chew. We were late to get the patent in, and somebody else got the patent 2 months before us.
Did they steal your idea, or is it just a race to get the idea?
There's always that question, because we did win a local competition with our idea that was in the newspaper, but you don't know.
Yeah.
You can dream up a conspiracy about anything, but but that hurt because we had been on that for a long time.
Yeah.
Before we got our patent in. By the way, you can do a provisional patent like the day you think of the idea, and you got a year to file, and that gets your foot in the door.
That's a really good tip to know.
Yeah, and those don't cost you but like $100, and anybody can. You just write it on a napkin, and it's it's super easy.
Wow.
But we bit off more than we should have tried to chew, because the idea was sound, and we had enough technical ability to think we might be able to come up with a prototype, which we did, but that prototype was a long way from production. There's Elon says the real work is in getting it from prototype to production. But if we'd set our sights lower and said, let's get a provisional patent, let's get a patent, and let's shop this to big companies as an idea for them to take, and get a tiny piece of something bigger, sell it outright or get a percentage. And you think of the low amount of work involved compared to the time and effort.
Yeah, why is it that sometimes we don't, like, some of these thoughts don't occur to us? Like, in your first business, like what you're telling us you should have done is, you're saying I should have basically came up with what I was good at, got a patent, I had this idea, and then I should have given up a bigger piece to get it off the ground and come away a winner.
Yeah.
And then on the second business, it sounded like you almost did just that. Like, you almost said, well, I'm going to give away pieces of this before I even start, to just get it off the ground and make myself a winner.
Right. Yeah.
So that's, and I mean, tell us how has it been from then to today? What kind of direction has the business taken?
It's just steady growth. It's just like you can set your clock by it. We're growing by the same number of subscribers every year. We assume there's some level of saturation out there, but it's interesting that that as my employer's customers grow, our customers grow, and it's just steady. And now they're going to start embedding our eSIM in the device, so that's their first choice as they activate the device and so forth.
So it's embedded in it.
Yeah.
They have to.
Yeah.
Not only is it a preferred option, it's like you have to actually work to undo this.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Exactly.
Okay,
yeah.
I'm not a techie guy,
Right.
but I see the strategy there.
Yeah.
How about your mindset? Like, lessons you've learned. Obviously, you've always had the goal, and it sounded like you had one business that didn't get where you wanted it to. Now you're pleased with where this one's gone. Like, how has your mindset changed about maybe time, money, anything?
How has it changed? I think it's important to know who I am. You know, I've been open that I'm not a salesman, and I'm not that 100 hours a week entrepreneur either. When I had the one we were trying to create an invention, I was still going to my kids' softball games, and you know, and I just not that 100 hours a week guy, right? And so I found something that suited my personality. I mean, certainly you can change your personality, and that's, you know, as I've listened to your podcast, what I've admired is that you are learning, you know, how to change your skill set, how to drive things forward, and how to work hard, which is very admirable. As opposed to me, well, I'll see what I can do with what I've got right now, you know.
Well, I think there's some real gold in that, though. Let me ask you this first. So, was that something that came, like, what you're telling us is you always had your priorities first? I bet you don't regret going to Tegan softball games. Like, that's something you're never going to look back on. But did you have to, like, consciously exercise some restraint and say, no, I'm going to go to these softball games even though I feel this pressure to be at work? Or is it just like, no, I know my priorities, I know who I am, I'm just going to do this way?
To be honest, sometimes it was I'd prefer to go to the game than work on it.
Right.
if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
But it's I think we should be striving to push ourselves, you know, but also trying to work within what's realistic. You know, parents sometimes say, I don't tell my kid they can be president. I know they can't be president. I know they can't play in the NBA, you know.
Sure.
You know, but I know that they can be a great plumber or whatever. I mean, and I don't want to denigrate. I'm not using plumber as a bad example. I'm using it as a good example.
Yeah.
You know, we both know plumbers are rolling in the dough.
Yeah, we do.
And finding something that fits your skill set. And if that's not college, and if that's not the physical work, you know, I think it's you know, when my kids were looking for careers, it's hard to get beyond if I'm a girl, I'll be a nurse or a teacher, and if I'm a boy, I'll be a fireman or a doctor. You know, we don't even know what's out there. And let me ask you a question. Now that you have, you know what it's like to start a business and create a business, you probably see opportunity everywhere you look, don't you?
Yes, but I see more opportunity within my ecosystem I already have almost, if that makes sense. Yeah. Like you see the opportunity in your same space, just a little bit out. Like one thing that I am careful of is sometimes people will say, hey, do you want to invest in a trailer park or an apartment building or something, right?
Yeah.
It's like I see opportunities everywhere, and sometimes I'll say to someone like, hey, you should try that opportunity. But like for me, I have a huge opportunity in the moving and storage space.
Yeah.
And within that we have our, you know, we're buying moving companies, we're buying storage facilities, we're growing our existing ones, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's a couple different things, but yeah, it's easy to have an eye and say, oh man, that's there.
Yeah.
You know, but I gotta stay here. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I mean, you're leveraging your current knowledge, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to like, you know, getting out, pushing your envelope instead of getting in a whole different neighborhood.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to bite off more than you can chew.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I have a lot to chew just within the same space I'm in. And then I think my biggest opportunity when I do chew what I've bitten off is to go find something else to bite off of the same space.
Yeah.
But it is a really cool experience to kind of see the opportunities now.
Yeah.
And I think what you're saying about your kids, just not having, when you ask them what they want to be when they grow up, I almost wonder if it would be better for our society is like, what strengths do you want to utilize when you grow up? You know, like what do you like? Do you like math? Do you like to speak? Do you like to write? You know, like, are you a good team leader? You know what I mean? Because that's the real skills I hire. Like when I'm hiring people, now I have a pretty big team. Like I don't really think anyone at my company of 50 people like ever grew up and thought, when I grow up, I'm going to be a mover, or I'm going to be a storage operator,
right,
or a storage investor.
Yeah.
No. And I'm sure you guys didn't grow up and think, man, I'm going to be like a SIM card guy.
Well, it wasn't a thing, right? And that's the thing, is that everybody's saying nobody knows what is possible in 5 years. You know, nobody knows what careers will be here and what careers will be gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Besides, you know, maybe expanding into the space, like what's next for you? And tell me both, like, what are things you want to do with your family, goals you have for your personal life now that you've carved out some of this for yourself, and then also like from a business perspective, what are your next goals?
So, personally, my wife and I would like to go on a mission soon, and there's that risk-averse side of our personalities that, you know, we need to find something that I think of it as a three-legged stool. I've got the current business, and I've got, you know, my retirement funds and stuff, but it'd be nice to have something that was independent of that, in case, I guess I have a negative attitude. It'll get all crater tomorrow, you know. Elon Musk's got, you know, his satellites in the sky providing data to everybody. You know, it won't happen overnight, but that will happen, right? This space, in 5 years is going to be a lot different, right?
You're talking about threats.
Yeah, threats and opportunities. You know, how can I provide satellite internet to my customers?
Yeah.
Looking ahead and trying to make sure that we're on the leading edge as opposed to yesterday's technology.
I like that. And such a tough thing with the opportunity to serve a mission young, but also like realizing I am young, like I'm going to come back and still want to have some passive income, right, making sure that's in place at least, right? Yeah. So that's an interesting thing I didn't think about. Do you guys have a timeline for your mission?
I wouldn't like to say it right now.
Okay. Sorry. But, you know, at some point it's going to be a crossroads, and probably will never feel too ready, but it's a big deal. Both are big deals, you know. Yeah. That's cool.
And maybe I'll couch it to my employer as a leave of absence, you know, because that actually happens. Our company people will go half-time, or they'll go and come back and stuff like that.
Do you have like my dad has a year that he's like, oh, well, when I'm 62 and a half, like it's already locked in. I know the exact day. Yeah. Is that your company?
I have a day.
Okay. Yeah. Same thing. That's exciting. How about, so the podcast is the Bigger Life podcast, and that's what we're trying to facilitate. And I think the reason why you fit the Bigger Life mold is because of what you were sharing about your, you know, not missing softball games, right? Like you put your faith first, you put going to the softball games first, but yet you've still managed to, you know, carve out something awesome that we all admire. And I think it's such a cool path that a lot of people will resonate with. But when it comes to like living a bigger life and ways that you can do that, even though you're self-proclaimed risk adverse, like what would be some of the biggest things that you feel like are important to you?
So bigger life, as you're saying that, a bigger eternity is what I'm thinking about. You know, I think a lot of times we think of the end of our lives of the end of everything, but I want to have a big eternity. I want to have a good relationship with my Savior, Jesus Christ. I want to build great relationships with my family, you know, and sometimes in families there's things about ourselves or others that we don't love, but if you realize, well, we got eternity to work on that, right? And that really helps me to put value and invest in relationships with my family, wife and children and grandchildren. A bigger life is, for me, is just to watch my expanding family. I tell you, it's true what they say is the only reason to have kids is to have grandchildren. It's so amazing to have. When my oldest grandchild was born, I said my goal is to be his favorite person in the world. And until he moved away, I was winning that. But yeah, bigger eternity is how I would say it, is to try to let God change me, to invite Him to change me, and try to be a blessing in the lives of others.
Yeah, thanks for sharing it that way. I believe, what you're talking about is relationships are the biggest thing. And I think that is an amazing goal, to try to be your grandkids' favorite person in the world. I think that's secretly everyone's goal, but just to state it out loud, that's awesome. Yeah. And I'm sure that you're still going to be his favorite person, especially when he grows up. Grandpa's always your favorite once they grow up. But I like that you brought an eternity to it, because that's a good lens to look through. Like we'll talk about spiritual things in our faith, but when you talk about how can you have the biggest life possible, I think it's making decisions that give you the biggest eternity possible. Mm-hmm. Like the mansion on high, not a literal mansion, but like the trajectory of your life in heaven and your reward is going to be based off of the way that you share the gospel here and dive deeper into your relationships. So it's an awesome takeaway. But I think it's like my biggest thing today is just you can do lean things where the upside is disproportionate to the risk. Mm-hmm. You can cut other people in. Yep. And find people that aren't maybe threatened by money, or maybe that's not what they care about most, but they can provide a ton of value. You trust them, and just find demand. Don't look for the shiniest object, but look for where's the real need at, and then put family first. Yeah. So thanks a ton. I know there's going to be a ton of value today. Appreciate you coming on, Ken.
Appreciate it.
Okay. That's another episode of the Bigger Life Podcast. Thank you.
It's fun.
This episode is brought to you by Big Storage Ventures. We bring our experience hunting storage deals and maximizing the self-storage asset to provide our partners with cash flow, tax benefits, and appreciation, all in one recession-resistant asset. Leverage our sister company, Big Ben's Moving Service, to fill your facility and give you an edge over the competition. Reach out to bigstorageventures@gmail.com or DM Big Storage Ventures on Instagram to team up.